First then, the UK's Prime Minister Boris Johnson is facing a major split within his Conservative Party this weekend, with MPs up in arms over the country's latest COVID restrictions. Tory members of Parliament say they're going to declare a boycott of their upcoming Conservative Party conference after it's emerged vaccine passports will be required to get in.
I'm booked for the Conservatives Party conference. I'm double jabbed. I won't be going to the conference if we're excluding people on the basis of their vaccination status.
With a heavy heart and apologies to event organisers likewise.
I'm afraid the same will apply to me.
Well, the debate around vaccine passports has indeed resurfaced, with Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, being rather keen on introducing the idea at crowded places later in the year in the autumn. Now, the Labour Party and the Lib Dems, they absolutely hate the idea, suggesting that they would vote it down in the House of Commons. But around 40 Tory rebel MPs are saying the absolute same thing, that they too would veto the idea. Now, there's also talk of a protest outside the venue, and that would be dubbed a freedom zone. But there's definitely mixed reaction to the idea among the public.
Like I would take the vaccine, I have it myself, but it's a personal choice.
If you've done your 2 jabs and you want to go and enjoy yourself somewhere in a restaurant, why should you take the risk of being infected by someone who decided not to inject themselves?
I do think that it's against the notion of civil liberties. I think this government has made a great many attacks on our liberties in rather a sort of quiet way that we haven't really noticed.
Well, a petition against the idea has been signed by over 300,000 people, claiming it would discriminate against those who chose not to get the vaccine. So there's lots of opposition to it, with many suggesting showing a negative test result would be much better. But the Vaccines Minister Nadhim Zahawi says these such events like music events, festivals and conferences are the places that ministers are most concerned about. But it all comes in the context of this vaccination rollout programme being in full force. We know now that 36 million people have been fully vaccinated, with 46 million people receiving their first dose. And a study published today suggests that just one dose, actually offers higher protection than was previously thought. So regardless of how many jabs that people have had, or indeed this new idea of a vaccination passport scheme, neither will necessarily stop the spread of the virus, which is, of course, indeed a cause for concern when we see these images of pubs, clubs absolutely heaving since Freedom Day.
And this coming too as the UK is going through another surge in infections, with over 36,000 new COVID cases and 64 deaths reported Friday. We talked about it some more with Professor of Cellular Microbiology, Dr. Simon Clark. He told us the UK's COVID restrictions, in his view, though, are a logical step to protect the population.
Clearly, it is a push to get people vaccinated. It's not just young people. There will be a few recalcitrant older ones as well. I think, generally speaking, and the same is true if you look overseas in places like France. They're doing exactly the same thing, or a very similar thing. It's not quite the same as forcing somebody, holding somebody down and forcing them to have medical treatment. It's just saying, well, if you choose not to do this, then your options in society are limited. I mean, it's an illiberal thing to do, but that's a government choice. That's a political choice. People will be spreading things around, going to events of all sorts, lots of different types of events, and running the risk of contracting the virus. If they have their vaccine, then their risks are reduced.